Did you know that nearly 1 in 3 Texas homeowners could be at risk of losing their homes in the coming years? It sounds unbelievable, but behind the booming skylines and new developments, a silent crisis is unfolding. Property taxes are climbing higher than ever, insurance companies are pulling out, and entire neighborhoods are being priced out overnight. Add in rising mortgage rates, natural disasters, and corporate investors buying up homes, and suddenly, the dream of home ownership starts to look like a ticking time bomb. The question is, could your home be next? Stay with me, because what I'm about to share might change the way you see the future of housing in Texas forever. Number 1. Skyrocketing property taxes. Texas is famous for having no state income tax, which at first sounds like a blessing. But here's the catch. The money has to come from somewhere, and that somewhere is property taxes. Over the past decade, property taxes in Texas have risen at a rate that far outpaces the average family's income growth. For many homeowners, this yearly bill has become a crushing burden. Even those who have fully paid off their homes are not safe, because failing to pay property taxes can still cost you the house you worked your whole life for. Imagine losing your home, not to the bank, not to a storm, but to a tax bill you couldn't keep up with. This isn't just a statistic, it's reality. Across Texas, families are being forced to choose between paying for essential needs like healthcare or groceries and meeting ever-rising property tax demands. The scary part? Unlike a mortgage, this bill never goes away. It doesn't matter if you've lived in the same home for 20 years. Each year, that tax bill comes knocking, and if you can't pay, the county can take your home and sell it off. That's not just financial pressure, it's a nightmare for people who thought they'd finally found stability. And here's the real kicker. Many experts warn that unless reforms are made, property taxes will only continue to climb, fueled by rising home values and rapid population growth in Texas cities. So even if your neighborhood feels affordable now, the hidden cost is creeping up behind you. For homeowners living paycheck to paycheck, this can be the breaking point. That's why skyrocketing property taxes are reason number 1 why millions in Texas could lose their homes, and why every homeowner should pay close attention before it's too late. Number 2. Rising mortgage rates. For years, Texans enjoyed historically low mortgage rates, making homeownership feel more accessible than ever. But those days are gone. Over the last couple of years, interest rates have climbed to levels not seen in decades, and that single shift has changed everything. Families who once locked in adjustable rate mortgages with tiny monthly payments are now seeing those payments skyrocket. What started as an affordable loan can suddenly become a financial trap, adding hundreds or even thousands of extra dollars each month. For many, that's simply unsustainable. The cruel reality is that most homeowners didn't plan for this kind of shock. They budgeted based on what they signed up for years ago, never imagining that a simple interest adjustment could threaten their entire future. And it's not just adjustable mortgages. New buyers are being priced out before they even get started. A house that seemed affordable in 2020 might now be completely out of reach simply because borrowing money has become so expensive. The dream of owning a home, for many Texans, is starting to look more like a gamble than a guarantee. And here's the danger that doesn't get talked about enough. When families can't keep up with these inflated payments, foreclosure becomes the next chapter. Lenders don't wait around forever. Miss a few months, and the process begins. Fast. This ripple effect could force millions into crisis, flooding the housing market with foreclosures and devastating entire neighborhoods. Rising mortgage rates aren't just numbers on a chart, they're a looming threat that could strip away the very foundation of stability for countless Texans. That's why this issue is more than just financial. It's personal, it's urgent, and it's one of the most powerful reasons so many are at risk of losing their homes. Number 3. Natural disasters. Texas is no stranger to extreme weather. From hurricanes along the Gulf Coast to tornadoes ripping through the north and devastating floods across the state, nature has a way of striking without warning. These disasters don't just leave behind damaged homes, they leave behind destroyed lives. And here's the terrifying truth. Many families never fully recover. Even with insurance, payouts often fall short, leaving homeowners drowning in debt while trying to rebuild from the rubble. But the danger goes deeper than just destruction. Each major storm drives insurance costs higher, making it more expensive for every single homeowner to stay protected. Some companies have already stopped offering coverage in high-risk regions altogether. That leaves homeowners trapped between two impossible choices: either pay outrageous premiums that drain your savings, or live without protection and risk losing everything in the next storm. Either way, the financial pressure becomes unbearable. And let's not forget the communities that are abandoned altogether. When a disaster makes an area uninsurable, Entire neighborhoods start to empty out, leaving families with homes they can't sell and bills they can't escape. For Texas, where population growth is exploding, the clash between natural disasters and housing stability could become one of the biggest crises of our time. That's why natural disasters aren't just freak events. They're a constant shadow hanging over millions of homeowners, threatening to take everything away in the blink of an eye. We put a lot of heart and effort into creating these videos so you get the information that really matters. So if you found value here, take just 1 second, hit that subscribe button, and tell us in the comments which of these risks feels closest to home for you. Your stories matter, and we'd love to hear them. Number 4. Soaring home insurance costs. If you own a home in Texas, you've probably noticed this already. Insurance premiums are climbing higher than ever, and it's not just a few dollars more, it's hundreds, sometimes thousands, added to yearly bills. For many families, home insurance now feels less like protection and more like an endless financial burden. Why is this happening? The answer lies in risk. With Texas sitting in the path of hurricanes, hailstorms, floods, and tornadoes, insurance companies see the state as one of the riskiest places in the country. To protect themselves, they raise prices, and homeowners are left to pay the difference. But here's the darker reality. In some parts of Texas, insurers are simply walking away. That's right, entire regions are being declared too risky, leaving families without coverage at all. Without insurance, one disaster could wipe out everything you've built in a single night. Even worse, if your mortgage requires insurance and you can't get it, your lender can step in and force costly alternatives or even push you into default. It's a no-win situation that makes the idea of owning a home far more fragile than most people realize. And let's be honest, when bills pile up, something has to give. Many families start cutting corners, skipping payments, or taking chances without proper coverage. But the moment a storm hits, that gamble backfires, leaving them with debts they can never repay. That's why soaring insurance costs aren't just a financial inconvenience, they're a hidden trap that could trigger a wave of foreclosures and force families out of their homes. In a state where weather disasters are becoming stronger and more frequent, the cost of staying protected is quickly turning into the reason many Texans may lose their homes altogether. Number 5. Inflation cost of living. When we talk about losing homes, it's easy to focus only on mortgages or taxes. But the truth is, inflation is quietly pushing families to the edge. Over the last few years, prices for everyday essentials, groceries, electricity, gas, even medical bills have climbed so sharply that many households are struggling just to cover basic needs. Add rising housing expenses on top of that, and it's a recipe for disaster. Owning a home used to be a sign of security, but for many Texans, it now feels like an endless balancing act where one unexpected bill could tip everything over. The painful reality is that inflation doesn't just drain wallets, it erodes stability. Imagine working the same job you've had for years, but suddenly your paycheck doesn't stretch the way it used to. You cut back on dinners out, you cut back on vacations, and still, you find yourself falling short when it comes to your home expenses. The monthly mortgage, property taxes, insurance, repairs, all of it piles up while income stays flat. For families already living paycheck to paycheck, there's no room left for error. One missed payment and foreclosure becomes a very real possibility. And here's where it gets even scarier. Inflation doesn't slow down when you need it to. Every year that costs rise faster than wages, the gap widens. This invisible pressure is quietly squeezing homeowners all across Texas, forcing many to consider selling, downsizing, or walking away entirely. Inflation might not make headlines like a hurricane or a sudden layoff, but it's just as destructive, slowly stripping families of the ability to hold on to their homes. That's why inflation and the soaring cost of living deserve a spot on this list. It may not strike overnight, but it's one of the most relentless forces pushing Texans toward losing their homes. Number 6. Job market instability. Texas is often praised for its booming economy, but beneath the surface lies a dangerous truth. Job market instability can destroy housing security overnight. Industries like oil, tech, and construction drive much of the state's growth, but these are also some of the most volatile sectors. When oil prices crash, when tech companies cut staff, or when construction slows, thousands of Texans suddenly find themselves without a paycheck. And when income disappears, mortgage payments quickly follow. It doesn't take months. Sometimes just a few missed checks can start the foreclosure process. The harsh reality is that job loss doesn't just affect the person who gets laid off. It ripples through entire families. A parent loses work, and suddenly groceries, gas, medical care, and the mortgage all compete for the same shrinking pool of money. Even unemployment benefits rarely cover the full cost of living, leaving homeowners scrambling to find side jobs or dipping into savings that vanish far too quickly. In the meantime, bills pile up, lenders start calling, and the stress can feel overwhelming. For many, it becomes a downward spiral that's almost impossible to escape. And here's the scary part. Most Texans don't plan for this kind of instability. They assume their jobs will always be there, that growth will keep rolling forward. But history has shown that one economic downturn, one wave of layoffs, can devastate thousands of households in a matter of weeks. This unpredictability makes job market instability one of the most dangerous threats to home ownership, because no matter how careful you are with your finances, if your income disappears, your home could be the very next thing you lose. Number 7. Corporate landlords buying up homes. There was a time when the housing market was dominated by families buying homes to live in. But today, a new player has entered the game: corporate landlords and big investment firms. These companies are buying up thousands of homes across Texas, often paying in cash and outbidding regular families who simply want a place to live. On the surface, it might look like just another business move, but the impact is devastating. Housing prices skyrocket, and everyday Texans are left struggling to compete. What was once an American dream is now a financial battlefield stacked against ordinary people. The danger doesn't stop at higher purchase prices. When corporate landlords take over neighborhoods, they control the rental market too. Families who can't afford to buy are forced into renting, often at inflated prices, lining the pockets of investors instead of building equity for themselves. And for homeowners already in the area, this wave of corporate ownership drives up property values, which might sound good, but it comes with a hidden cost: much higher property taxes. Suddenly, your house isn't affordable anymore, even if you've lived there for decades. Here's the chilling part. These corporations aren't interested in communities. They're interested in profits. They can hold on to homes for years, waiting for values to climb, while families are priced out and pushed further away from the cities they grew up in. This growing trend is reshaping entire neighborhoods, making it harder and harder for Texans to achieve long-term stability. Corporate landlords may not be the face of foreclosure, but their aggressive buying practices are one of the silent forces driving families out of their homes. And unless something changes, this problem is only going to get worse. Number 8. Gentrification displacement. Walk through neighborhoods in cities like Austin, Dallas, or Houston, and you'll see a story playing out in real time. What were once modest communities are now being reshaped by luxury apartments, trendy restaurants, and new developments. On the surface, this is marketed as progress, better infrastructure, safer streets, and fresh investment. But for longtime residents, it often feels like a slow eviction. As property values surge, so do rents, taxes, and the cost of living. Families who have lived in these areas for generations suddenly find that they can no longer afford to stay in the very neighborhoods they helped build. The process is called gentrification, and while it transforms a city's appearance, it comes with hidden costs. A family earning an average income may watch as new coffee shops and high-end boutiques replace local stores, but those changes aren't meant for them. They're designed to attract wealthier buyers. The ripple effect? Rising housing demand and soaring property values push locals out. For renters, landlords see an opportunity to raise prices or sell to investors. For homeowners, the weight of higher taxes and constant offers to buy their property can become unbearable. Eventually, many give up, leaving behind their homes and communities. What makes this trend so devastating is that it doesn't happen overnight. It creeps in slowly, block by block, until one day the neighborhood you remember is gone. Gentrification and displacement aren't just about losing a house. They're about losing culture, history, and identity. For millions of Texans, this isn't some distant problem. It's happening right outside their doors, and unless affordable housing solutions keep pace with growth, gentrification will continue to push families out of the very places they once called home. Number 9. Water utility challenges. When people think about losing their homes, they often picture foreclosure or rising taxes. But in Texas, another silent threat is growing: Water and utility challenges. The state's population is booming, yet resources like water and electricity are already stretched thin. During the infamous 2021 winter freeze, millions were left without heat, water, or power for days, and the repair bills that followed pushed some families over the financial edge. Infrastructure failures don't just leave you uncomfortable, they leave you vulnerable to mounting costs that can quickly spiral out of control. Here's the problem. When utility systems fail, the costs of fixing them don't just disappear. Cities and utility providers pass those expenses on to homeowners. That means higher monthly bills, unexpected fees, and in some cases, thousands in repair costs when pipes burst or systems collapse. Even those who weren't directly impacted by disasters often saw rate hikes in the months that followed. And when basic services like electricity and water start eating up bigger portions of household budgets, families already on tight margins are forced to make painful trade-offs. This isn't a one-time concern. Experts warn that with Texas growing so rapidly, the pressure on utilities will only increase. Hotter summers, harsher storms, and droughts all add more strain to an already fragile system. For homeowners, that means more outages, more damage, and more bills that can make keeping a house feel impossible. Water and utility challenges aren't just about inconvenience, they're about long-term affordability. When the systems that keep us alive become unreliable or unaffordable, homes across Texas are put at risk. It's a hidden but very real reason why so many families could lose their stability. Number 10. Legal loopholes foreclosure practices. Most Texans believe that if they fall behind on payments, they'll have plenty of time to catch up before their home is at risk. Unfortunately, that's not always true. Texas has some of the fastest foreclosure timelines in the country, meaning families can lose their homes in a matter of weeks, not months. Lenders are legally allowed to move quickly, and once the process starts, it can be almost impossible to stop. For many homeowners, by the time they realize how serious things have become, the home is already scheduled for auction. This system heavily favors lenders, leaving families scrambling to find legal help they often can't afford. While some states require lengthy court proceedings before foreclosure, Texas operates differently. In many cases, lenders only need to send a notice of default and give a short window to resolve the debt. If you don't act fast, or if you simply don't have the money, your home can be sold out from under you. Families who've spent decades building equity can lose everything in just a few short weeks. And the worst part? Many homeowners don't even realize these laws exist until it's too late. They think foreclosure is a long, drawn-out process with safety nets built in, but the reality is far harsher. Legal loopholes and aggressive foreclosure practices aren't just technicalities, they're devastating realities that strip families of their homes with alarming speed. This hidden risk is the final reason why millions of Texans could find themselves homeless if they're not prepared. In a state where so many other financial pressures are already building, the speed and severity of foreclosure laws make the situation even more dangerous. The reality is clear. Texas is facing a housing storm unlike anything we've seen before. From rising property taxes and skyrocketing insurance costs to natural disasters and predatory foreclosure laws, millions of families are walking a financial tightrope. Each factor on its own is dangerous, but together they form a perfect storm that could strip countless Texans of their homes. But here's the truth. You're not powerless. Awareness is the first line of defense. By understanding the challenges ahead, you can take steps to protect your family and your future. Whether it's staying informed about property tax reform, preparing for natural disasters, or building financial resilience, small actions today can make all the difference tomorrow. This isn't just about houses. It's about people, families, and communities. And if Texas doesn't face these challenges head-on, the dream of homeownership could slip further out of reach for millions. The good news? With preparation, smart planning, and collective awareness, we can fight back against these risks and keep homes secure for the generations to come. So what can you do to protect yourself and your family from these risks? The first step is financial preparedness. Build an emergency fund that covers at least 3 to 6 months of housing costs. It might feel impossible at first, but even small, consistent savings add up and can be the lifeline you need if disaster strikes. Second, stay informed about property taxes and local reforms. Many Texas communities are pushing for tax caps or relief programs, but homeowners need to participate, vote, and voice their concerns. Don't wait until your bill doubles. Get ahead of the changes and know your options. Third, review your insurance policies regularly. Shop around for better coverage. Look for discounts, and don't assume your current plan is the best deal. If your insurer As out, explore state-supported programs or community-based alternatives. Having the right coverage could mean the difference between rebuilding and losing everything. Finally, diversify your income streams and job security. Side hustles, skill development, and emergency planning can help cushion the blow if layoffs or industry downturns hit. And when it comes to foreclosure, don't wait. If you fall behind, reach out for legal advice immediately. Organizations across Texas offer free or low-cost assistance that can buy you time and options. The bottom line, while the risks are real, the solutions are within reach. By staying proactive, prepared, and informed, you give yourself the best chance of keeping your home safe, even in the face of Texas's toughest challenges. We pour countless hours into researching and creating these videos to bring you the information that truly matters. So if you learned something valuable today, please support us with just one click. Subscribe to our channel, and before you go, share your thoughts in the comments. Then check out our previous video for even more insights that could protect your future.